major privilege this evening because I mentioned just before I have been trying now for the best part of 2 years to get Peter Dunn up on the show. And for one reason or another, there's always been something happening. There's been lockdowns, there's been events, all kinds of things, which has meant that we haven't actually been able to meet in person. So this evening is the first time me and Peter have actually met. Obviously, a major influencer on the DJ dance scene. Going back, 51 years you've been DJing here on the Isle of Man, Peter, and your name has been mentioned by so many of the DJs that come up on the show. Neil Cowie, Neil Clegg, I think you've mentioned as well earlier, Paul Moran as well. You gave, and it's all, that you're the one that has given all these local people, when they were fairly young as well. I think that is putting it quite nicely for the two Neils and Paul. So tell us a bit about your career.
Well, where do I start? Way back in probably 1970, I went to the very first disco. It was a local youth club disco, and I was fascinated. Never seen anything like that before, and wow. I'd love to do something like that. So at the local youth club for the church where I used to go, we had a priest there who was kind of into electronics and that, and he built a music desk with 2 old style record players and a little mixer, and it all really started there. And like I say, 51 years ago, yeah.
Okay, so I mentioned there that you've obviously been the person that has given so many opportunities to a lot of the DJs out there. So what have been your main highlights of your career on the island?
I've been very privileged to have been able to DJ in practically all of the nightclubs from the mid-80s right through to the present day. And as people come along, Paul Moran came with me up at the Dow Jones. From there, that was like 1988, 89. I then moved to Little Caesars, which later morphed into Paramount City. And a young guy by the name of Neil Clegg kept mithering me to play records. And I said, why don't you just go ahead and do it yourself, mate? Brought the records down, and Neil acknowledges the fact that was his first go at DJing live in a club. And you mentioned Neil Cowie. Neil was in Jimmy B's, and they sort of pay homage to the fact that I was still working and still doing it and that, So I'm very humbled to be mentioned by other people because I was just doing my thing. I've never been what you'd call a dance DJ because I can't mix. I can mix cement, but I can't mix music. I did try, but I just didn't have those skills. So I just adapted, and my music was more poppy and that kind of thing. And my main passion musically has always been Motown and Northern Soul music. Which I'm still playing to this day, off vinyl, no less. Because back in the days, it was all vinyl. We moved to CD, and now it's laptops and that kind of thing. And I've had to progress with it, because there's only so many CDs you can carry around, whereas you can have God knows how many tunes on a laptop, much more accessible.
I suppose it's made it a lot easier now. Everything can be on laptop or USB sticks. But actually, back in the day, 50 years ago, there must have been quite a lot of planning that went into what you were going to play because you couldn't physically bring everything with you.
That's right. We used to have boxes that would hold about 150 singles, and you'd be bringing like 4 or 5 of them along, plus maybe 2 or 3 cases full of LPs as well, so that you had a good range of music to play. But it was hard work carrying all that stuff around,
So we're going to be chatting to you a bit later on because you have got a gig coming up. You're still at it, and as you mentioned in there, it's your Motown gig. That's where kind of like your passion is.
Yeah.
And we've also got some tickets to give away as well to that. So we will give more details on that later on the show. But also for Saturday night in the mix tonight, something a little bit different. As you mentioned there, you don't properly mix
No.
like some of, you know, the 2 Neils and that do when they're up on the show. But you have actually picked 3 fantastic 90s tracks,
Yeah.
and one of them you're even going to get me to go back to when I first started in radio, because I'm going to play it off CD.
Yeah.
See, there wasn't really vinyl when I started in the 90s, but
No.
CD and mini disc
Yeah.
there was, so I
That's
can
right,
cope with that. So we're going to be doing that in around about an hour or so's time. Also, we've had a tweet in actually from Shane, who says, I haven't seen Peter since he was the rep for Bucknell's, but he's a great DJ.
Thank you, Shane.